Crystal Palace are glad all over after their first major trophy being won, the Emirates FA Cup, in a great performance by Oliver Glasner's side versus Manchester City. What a game, what a day for those fans, what a day for those players, for the manager and everyone involved in the football club. It's been a quite terrific last 15 months since Oliver Glasner took over, and this is what they deserved. A fantastic run to the final, massive wins versus Villa, Fulham, tough wins versus Millwall along the way, and then to get to the big bads in Manchester City and get the victory, and to be honest, I think really control the game. I'll get into the play-by-plays in a bit, but Man City had a lot of pop shots and half chances. I guess the biggest of all being that controversial Henderson moment. But outside of that, they really did not create much. Crystal Palace looked like every time they went forward, they were going to score in this game here. It was the perfect game plan executed by Oliver Glasner's side, and a really deserving 1-0 victory in the end. As I said, I'll get through the sort of play-by-plays here quickly at the start. The game went as we expected, right? The first 15 minutes or so, all Man City penning Crystal Palace in. They had the classic bank of 5, and then in front of that, the bank of 2. And then they sort of played with Mateta and Eze as two almost strikers pressing high up the pitch. They were sitting in, probably forced back into their own edge of their own area. It was that deep at times, the Crystal Palace line, but they were condensed, they were compact, and it really limited the effects of those wide players. Pep went up with a really attacking system. Kevin De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva as two midfielders, and no real holder on the side, no real number 8, I guess you can say, in there. There was just two 10s playing as false 8s. You've got the right winger there in Savinho, the left winger in Doku, but they just couldn't find a way to break down this Crystal Palace side. They went ultra attacking, knowing this was going to be the game plan from Crystal Palace, but it's one thing knowing it, it's actually another thing about going about beating it. And the first 15 minutes, there was a header from Haaland. There was also a Gvardiol header as well, but Henderson was well behind those, making some important saves early on, and it'll be a theme to come as the game grew deeper. The big moment came very early in the game, 16th minute, a great move from Crystal Palace from back to front. Mateta, great hold-up play, played a little bit of a 1-2 there to allow Munoz to get up the pitch and get down that right-hand bar line, cross the ball in, fizz the ball into the box, really at pace. And look, you have to get a touch on each of the balls here, but with the pace was coming in, with the bodies it was going through, Eberechi as a fantastic controlled finish, cushioned on the half volley there, pick out the far corner and give Crystal Palace the 1-0 lead. It was the perfect counter-attacking goal. Mateta back to goal, holding the ball up, being physical, and that's what he did the whole game basically. Denied Man City defenders the ability to get in front of him. He always had the position advantage on them and protected that ball there. Little layoff to Munoz. Interplay there was very, very good. And like we've seen all season for Daniel Munoz, one of the best signings of the year, gets up the pitch when it is right, when it is suited. And that was the perfect moment to get up the pitch. A storming run down that channel there on the right-hand side, whipping the ball into the area. And again, to pick out Eberechi Eze and to find him, making that late run into the box and the cushion finish as well. It was the perfect counter-attacking goal. Symbolic of what we saw, I think it was around 5 or 6 weeks ago at the Etihad when Crystal Palace took that commanding 2-0 lead. Yet again, it could have been 2-0 in the space of minutes. Munoz with the exact same movement down that right-hand side, getting in behind yet again. This time it was Ismail Assar in the box, looked to flip the ball on, didn't get enough on it, and we went straight into the arms of Ortega. But that was, I guess, the theme early on. A lot of Palace counter-attacks. They looked very, very dangerous. Looking dangerous from long throw-ins from Chris Richards as well. It was every time they went forward, City looked vulnerable. The centre-halves not dealing well with direct running and high balls in the box. It's that real directness into the centre-forward, into Mateta, and then you play from there, which City just couldn't deal with. They couldn't outwork or be more physical than Jean-Philippe Mateta, and it really showed because the counter-attacks and the build-up play was made easier and easier for Crystal Palace as the first half grew older. I guess then we come to the big moment after all of that, Dean Henderson reaching to tap the ball away from Erling Haaland outside the box. It was City's first real chance where they went direct to Erling Haaland. Crystal Palace caught high up the pitch after a few counter-attacks there. Maybe getting a little bit too confident in this game here was, I guess, their Achilles heel in the return game in the Premier League a few weeks ago. They got too confident, too cocky. It almost felt like they lowered their guard and Man City were able to dominate in that second half. But, the high line got a little bit higher. The deep line got a little bit higher from Crystal Palace. They were called out with a direct long ball. Erling Haaland using that physicality, using that sprint speed to get in behind the two centre halves. Dean Henderson sort of comes out, then backpedals, and in the end sort of swats the ball away, looking like he did that outside of the area. We know what that means, a sending off and a scoring opportunity there for Man City. VAR looks at it, don't overturn the on-field decision. Now look, angles probably helped this decision here. It looked, with the angle we got given, like it was outside the box. Did they have another angle? Did they have something they're not showing us? But I think there was a key moment in the game there. I can understand City fans' frustration because that's a blatant interference and a handball outside of the area there from the goalkeeper. So that's a major moment in the game there. It was a clear sign to me there for Man City, which they should have taken, is that let's play more direct. Let's try and allow Palace to get a little bit more confidence, allow them maybe some chance in possession. Let's sit back and then try and hit them with one counter-attack, because there was one long ball that was speculative at best, but Erling Haaland made the best of it. It was his best opportunity for the whole game, and he almost won a massive moment for Man City there, getting the handball, the sending off of the goalkeeper, and putting Man City into the ascendancy. But look, not overturned. Again, I feel like I can't comment because I don't know if there's another angle, but for me, look blatantly like outside the box. And I can understand absolutely Man City fans' frustration, because that just looked like a complete stuff-up by VAR. They called the game to be holded. They were obviously having a chat with the on-field referee, but then nothing to be actioned about it, not even a look at the monitor, not even a second opinion, I guess, influencing the game. It's a great point with VAR. If you're going to have it, use it properly. Don't use it the wrong way. Otherwise, I think what every football fan wants is just get rid of it altogether. And that's just the way I look at it in the end there. But City had their big chance. Omar Marmoush stepping up to the penalty spot after a really bad challenge from Tyreek Mitchell. One of the few times Bernardo Silva made a storming run into the box, making that midfield run to overcrowd the wide space, put Mitchell under pressure. He went to ground. Mitchell made a big mistake by going to ground, because Bernardo Silva looked like he was already falling over. He already got off balance and wasn't really going anywhere. He was running out of play, but enough to make contact with Bernardo Silva, bring him down to the box. Then up step, obviously, Omar Marmoush just before half-time. But a massive, important save from Dean Henderson there. A savable height. It was hit with a lot of power, and it was hit with decent precision from Omar Marmoush, but Dean Henderson to the rescue. And then importantly, on the follow-up from Erling Haaland, got up and made the save there to keep the ball safely in his grasp. So it was still 1-0 Crystal Palace as he approached half-time. Probably the best City chance from, outfield play and non-set pieces was Jeremy Doku. Finally skipped past Munoz for the first time of the half in the 43rd minute. Looked to whip the ball top corner, but once again, Dean Henderson looked like he was clawing that ball out of the back of the net. Another heroic save, meaning we went into half-time 1-0 to Crystal Palace. Second half looked much better from Savinho at the start. It was 3 crosses in 3 minutes that almost led to massive chances for Man City. Chris Richards with heroic headers at the back there. Mark Guehi putting his body on the line later on in the half as well. And then the big moment came with Munoz thinking he scored. Took a deflection of Ismail Assar on the way, meaning he was offside. So that was chalked out. But then as we went deeper, there was a few chances. De Bruyne had one in the 93rd minute. Echeverri as well, off the bench, the youngster, probably had the pick of the chances around the 80th minute there. Kevin De Bruyne picking him through, but he put his chance straight at Dean Henderson, and he had a chance right at the end as well, the youngster, in the 96th minute. Tight space in the box, but put his effort again straight at Dean Henderson. So, look, Man City didn't make much. It was an O'Reilly chance, 2 Echeverri chances, and then obviously Kevin De Bruyne later on with a long shot as well. But outside of that, Palace did not give them much. And as such, as I said, they probably deserved the victory because Man City didn't create enough. I think they weren't quick enough in the final third. They weren't direct enough. And yes, you can say this against a low block. It's very hard to do that. But as I said, all it takes is give Palace some confidence, sit in a little bit deeper, back your centre halves into defend deep and defend robustly. And then you've got one counter-attack. Savinho, Marmoush, Haaland, all three of them very speedy, very direct runners. Give them the chance to do what they're good at. I think I keep saying it with Man City, with Marmoush and Savinho. They're not playing to their strengths, similar to what Jack Grealish was like when he came across. They're not playing to these players' strengths, which is speed, which is directness, which is flair in the final third, but playing in transition a little bit more. It might take sacrificing your ball retention and your 90% possession, but it means the betterment of your players on your side. it's starting to feel like Man City just signing the best players, which obviously they should do, being one of the best teams in world football across the last 5 years. But are they the right players for their team? I just don't know. Savinho quiet in this game here. Marmoush absent in this game here. Doku struggled. Erling Haaland barely involved. You're not playing to their strengths by playing this slower, pragmatic, sideways ball retention system that can be counter-attacked. It's just not suiting their styles of football. 78% possession, 2.3 XG, but only the one big chance. 23 shots, 10 of which were blocked. So fantastic work from Crystal Palace in that regard. Then looking at Palace, 22% possession. It sort of went up and down between 18 and 20% throughout the whole game. They were very happy to sit in their bank of 5, their bank of 3, and a bank of 2, and just protect their box. They did it fantastically well. No mistakes for them defensively. And I think the big, thing for me was there was no errors playing out from the back. At times, they looked to play out. Adam Wharton and Munoz and Richards on the ball and Lacroix on the ball. It's very easy for them to make a mistake in passing out from the back, dealing with the press, a heavy touch that gives City their opportunity to get back into the game. But outside of that Tyreek Mitchell poor challenge that gave away the penalty, there was zero to mistakes made from the holding midfielders, Kamada and Adam Wharton, or the back 5 there. And that's very, very impressive. A team like City that presses so hard, in a team that you've only had 22% possession across the game, you can get leggy, you can get tired. Mistakes can happen, but they just denied it. They just willed it not to be. They were controlled in their possession. They were smart in terms of the way they played out from the back. Look at some of these stats here. They won 60% of aerial duels, 49 clearances, 10 blocks made on the game. They did everything they had to do in this game, and as such, they got the result. It was a real workmanlike, but a smart workmanlike performances. There can be just the workmanlike where you're just a team that's tough. You sit in, you get a bit of slice of luck. But this was Crystal Palace. Yes, they were sitting in deep, but they were smart in possession. When they had the opportunities to control the ball, they did. Especially around the 70th, 80th minute mark, there was 2 opportunities they had where they had about 2 minutes or a minute and a half of possession to take the sting out of the game. One-touch football, Adam Wharton working back to goal in tight places. Daichi Kamada sliding in and winning the ball back very quickly. I think he was an underrated hero of this game here. I thought Hughes and Wharton should be the combination, but Daichi Kamada's a little bit extra on the ball and his willingness and relentlessness to slide in the challenges and win the ball back quickly meant he was an invaluable asset to this Crystal Palace side with and without the football. Just a really, really complete performance from him. Some of the key players in this game here, obviously Dean Henderson is the man of the match, 8.8 match rating, 6 saves, including that penalty save. Yes, he got away with something early in the game with that handball outside of the box, but outside of that, he was smart. He played long when he had to. He took time out of the game when he had to as well. And every time City had a real clear-cut opportunity, which was very few times, he was there to make the save. Big saves in the first 15 minutes to keep the game 0-0 and give Crystal Palace the confidence to grow into the game. Saves down the end and down the stretch. Penalty saves at the midpoint. Every time in the game they called upon him, he answered the call. Fantastic game for Dean Henderson and really deserving of this. Bounced around a few clubs now. Looks like he's found a home at Crystal Palace and we're playing European football next season because of it. Chris Richards is probably my man of the match. I think he was superb. 7.8 match rating, 12 clearances, 4 blocks, 4 to 5 aerial duels won, 3 to 5 accurate long balls. They're very good at playing the diagonals up the pitch. Was everywhere. Obviously, Gehi went down with that delayed concussion. Maxence Lacroix wasn't his type of game with how physical Erling Haaland is and how slow the build-up is for Man City. There's less last-ditch challenges and runs in behind for Man City. So it's not really Maxence Lacroix's type game, but it was Chris Richards' type game. And this guy, he is, I guess, the unspoken of the 3. Everyone talks about Gehi, the Englishman, supposed to go to Newcastle, heavily valued international player. Maxence Lacroix, the new signing, coming across from the Bundesliga. I'm a bit hipster. I love the way he goes about his football, but no one ever talks about the American Chris Richards. And I think this is him stamping his authority on this Crystal Palace side, making a statement on one of the biggest days in English football. He was fantastic. He was everywhere. As I said, 12 clearances, getting rid, massive blocks, massive headers in and around the area, winning those aerial duels to deny Erling Haaland scoring opportunities. He was touch-tight to Erling Haaland all game, and you saw the limited effects Haaland had. Massive game of Chris Richards, and he's building as we go in towards the World Cup in America. They've got a very good side on paper in terms of individuals. He'll be an important player, a part of that squad to try and go deep in that tournament for the host country. Eberechi Eze, obviously the goal, 87% pass accuracy, 3 interceptions, 4 to 7 ground duels won. think the big stat for me is the 87% pass accuracy. Obviously, the goal changes the game, but in his build-up play, Mateta, Sarr, and Eza, not wasteful. They made sure the build-up went his journey, continued on, and made sure City had to go and defend the transition. A pass accuracy of 70 or 65% means he's wasteful. He's giving the ball away. He's giving Man City to counter back the counter-attack, and that's when we know teams are very easily caught off guard. If you've initially gone to the counter-attack and you give the ball away, your wing-backs are higher up the pitch, your central midfielders are caught off balance and not touch tight to their required players, and all of a sudden Man City get in control of the game. They can counter the counter-attack, and then all of a sudden Crystal Palace are all at sea. But it's his smarts and the control of possession and the quality on the ball with his passing to keep possession and maintain it for Crystal Palace and allow that counter-attack to build up, which is so important for the side and was so important to take the sting out of the relentless Man City attacks. And obviously Daniel Munoz, assist, 2 key passes, 2 out of 2 accurate crosses, 6 out of 13 ground duels won, 5 tackles, 3 clearances. He kept both wingers when they came on the pitch very, very quiet. Doku probably got the best of him once or twice, maybe once in the first half, once in the second half. But he was so good, so solid defensively, like he's been all season. He does his defensive work very, very well, never makes mistakes. But then the real threat of Daniel Munoz is when he goes forward, when he gets that head of steam, when he starts running down that right-hand channel. We've seen goals in his game in the Premier League. We saw assists and near assists in this game here from him in the FA Cup final. He is the ultimate complete fullback. Really reminds me of Andy Robertson in his peak at Liverpool, where he knows when to go up the pitch, when he knows when to commit himself to be all the way up in the opposition penalty area. He knows when to hold back and protect that back line. And he's so good in one-on-one defending. He shuts down his opposition winger. There's not many wingers in the league this season that can say they've got the best of Daniel Munoz, a proper complete fullback in my eyes, and really deserved of this trophy as well. With that being said, let's round it all up. Man City trophyless for the first time since 2017. Massive fall off for them this season. The Rodri effect felt. Maybe the effects of not picking the right players to play this style of football for Pep Guardiola as well. So a lot of learning to be done, and they have to win this game coming up on Tuesday versus Bournemouth. If they don't, the threat of no trophy and no Champions League football will be mammoth. It would send shockwaves through that Man City hierarchy. So massive need to win next game versus Bournemouth at home. Palace's first ever major trophy, as I said, at the start of the season. It means Europa League football for Glasnow's men next season. And this is something that's massive for the club. More chance of attracting great players, developing a squad, and it's more chance of the likes of Marc Guéhi, Eberechi Eze, Jean-Philippe Mateta, Adam Wharton potentially staying one more season and seeing out this project with Oliver Glasner. If they go deep in the Europa League, it'd be a real great feat. And we've seen what Man United and Tottenham have done this season. 2 of the worst teams in the Premier League have gone to Europa League final. It's a real chance for European silverware now with Crystal Palace. We saw what West Ham did with the Conference League a few years back. It's a massive opportunity for the club to get your name out there, to get that money, to play on Thursday nights and get the feel of what it feels like to play under the floodlights on a European night. Massive for them. Those fans deserve it. They're just one of the best fans I've seen in world football. They back their side home and away. They're always the loudest fans in the arena. The Ultras as well. I love it, and they absolutely deserve it. Big shout-outs also to Hughes, Kamada and Wharton, putting their bodies everywhere, working like a midfield. I think that's where Crystal Palace sort of won this game. Man City have the attacking midfielders that couldn't track back defensively, couldn't prevent transition, whereas Crystal Palace had Wharton and Kamada that are the workhorses, that are smart in possession. They're not wasteful in the football. Their passing is tip-top. And they've got Hughes that comes on, another workman-like player who's physical, will go into a challenge and trying to break the game up. That area of the park they won. They own that battle, I think, for me. Yes, Man City might have had more passes, more possession in that area there. Yes, Kevin De Bruyne probably was the player of the game for Man City, but their impact was limited. Their control of the game was limited. And I think it was down to the work rate of the Crystal Palace midfielders. And I think going to touch on the development of a game plan under Oliver Glasner. 15 months or so he's been there. Already looking at potentially the most points in Crystal Palace's recent history in the Premier League, a European berth, their first major trophy, all coming in less than 2 years under Oliver Glasner. It's fantastic work which the manager has done. He came across, he emphasised his style of football, the high speed, the high intensity of the game plan, the ability to sit back and counter-attack, and he's got the players in the squad to go and do that now. He lost Michael Olise. He lost key players in this side here from last season to this season. They started poorly. They went through the ringer, being in the relegation zone. But ever since looking at November time, the turnaround's been fantastic. Continue great performances, continue improvement, and now a cup final to back it up. Just so well deserved from the manager. He sticks by his beliefs, he sticks by his players, and the outcome has just been, well, unbelievable for this side here. I guess the other thing I want to touch on, obviously, Chris Richards fantastic in this game, but then for Man City, another quiet game for Erling Haaland at Wembley. No goals yet again for him at Wembley. Another major cup final at Wembley. He's almost invisible. And then Savinho and Doku struggling on the flanks as well. Something has to change in cup finals for Man City, the way they approach the game. This whole slow possession stuff, it's worked in some games. Community Shield, they sort of turned it around late versus Manchester United, beaten by Man United in the FA Cup final last year. FA Cup final the year before that. Obviously, they won it, but it was far from convincing. They need to change their approach in cup finals. This 80% possession and just relentless, just sideways and diagonals and trying to pass through a side just doesn't work. I think sides have worked it out now. It's now 2 FA Cup finals. They go in as the superior side, the side backed in the favourites, and they haven't produced anywhere near their best football. They haven't created enough chances for Erling Haaland. You've got to change your style and mould it just a little bit to benefit your players in your side. And I think the Marmoushas, the Savinhas, the Dokus, and the Haalands don't suit this system. Kevin De Bruyne was the only one really willing this side on, similar to that Premier League game. And I think the one key difference, as stupid as it sounds, is Nico O'Reilly. He was a difference maker in that league game because of the way he was able to drive the side forward, heavily involved in the build-up play. His height, size, and ability on the ball was shown. But he was caught out in transition, inverting too far into midfield, creating too much spaces for channels for the Palace guys to get in behind. He didn't have an impact in the game. De Bruyne didn't have enough to lift this off the canvas like he did in the Premier League. And as such, Crystal Palace has run out easy winners. I think it was a well-worked Crystal Palace victory, a deserved Crystal Palace victory. And again, I guess a story of struggle and belief and support and backing your manager in. As I said, they were at rock bottom at the start of this Premier League season. I think it took them 7 games or 6 games to get a victory on the year. It was actually a very slow start. You had lost Eberechi Eze. You're trying to mould Ismail Assar and Daichi Kamada into this side here. You lose your centre-half in Chalobah, who was massive throughout the season. They were missing key centre-backs at key times this season. Chris Richards missing a large chunk in the new year. But they all came fit. They all believed in the game plan to Oliver Glasner. They built together. They regained form together. And this is the result. Being the first side in Crystal Palace's history to lift a major trophy. Massive moment and well-deserved from every single player from Crystal Palace. And most importantly for me, Oliver Glasner, the manager. Those Palace fans deserve it. Those players deserve it. And definitely the manager deserves it. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, guys. What are your thoughts on the final? Do you think Crystal Palace deserved it? Do you think Henderson should have been sent off for that handball in the first half? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section down below. With that being said, guys, please like, comment, subscribe on the video. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you guys in the video very, very soon. Till next time, guys. See you later.